Okay, let's get more on that and other issues in the banking space with Pascal Odibo, who is the country head of Jeff and O'Brien. Good morning, Pascal. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you, Basson.
We had this conversation then. That was in July. We're here in August. It looks like things keep moving almost on a daily basis. But let's start. We're going to have a very long conversation. So you're going to stick around.
Okay.
You ain't going nowhere for this Monday morning. Thanks for coming through. Now, let's talk to these. Right now, the banking sector, we're going to get to retail banking and others in the second part of the conversation. But right now, commercial banks are gasping for breath. There's no liquidity in the system. Talk to us about this. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, the key thing is that, I mean, of course, it's official that we are in a recession. And it's clear that businesses must sit down and look at their business to see whether they will. All you need to do now is to survive the recession. And, you know, I keep hearing people telling, oh, they're going to be, you need to diversify, you need to begin to do big ticket things. Unfortunately, it is not in recession that you do those things.
Yeah, speaking specifically to lack of liquidity in the banking system, what are your thoughts?
My thought is that the banks must be supported. And this is where I'm coming up with something that I think may go against the grain. You know, pulling out the traditional sources of liquidity at this time may be very counterproductive.
Which is government funds.
Absolutely. I think that we may begin to look at ways to reflate the system through the banks and give them an opportunity to trade on their product. And the stock in trade is cash, is business money. If you pull it away, they will not be able to do anything. And the moment they don't do anything, the economy will begin to wobble. And when it wobbles, it trickles down. So my take here is that if you pulled away the TSA, and those that tried as much as possible to, in quotes, hide it, you slam them 4 billion, 2 billion, depending on how much you thought you would slam them. And all of a sudden today we are beginning to see them wobble. You know, if the witch cries in the night and the child dies in the morning, you must begin to find a correlation. So my take here is that the regulators must engage the banks beyond just regulation as co-partners in this economy.
Very quickly for 1 minute before we take a break, talk to us about retail banking. And we had this conversation before, but now we're shifting it a little bit. Again, because it looks like every bank on the street wants to do retail banking. Do you think that we're beginning to start to overfish in the same pond?
That is that is always the problem. You know, I keep telling people that strategy is not what you do in the morning. In other words, you don't wake up and say, this is what I want to do, then that becomes a strategy. Strategy is thought through and is allowed to marinate and birth a way forward for you. I believe very strongly that the temptation for the banks is the volume, the sheer volume.
In retail banking.
In retail banking. So everybody, of course, will want to take a hold at it. But there are ways, that was why the conference we had it, that you cannot take your corporate banking strategy to engage in retail banking.
Very interesting. Okay, let's hang it in there. You can't take a corporate banking strategy and wholesale banking and put it into retail banking, yes, because the architecture, whatever, is different. Now, we're going to talk more about this when we come back after the break. Stick around. Some of the issues around corporate banking relates to the energy sector, oil, gas, electricity, power sector, lending, and the non-performing loans that the banks are now saddled with. Stick around. Pascal Odibo, who is the country director at Jeff and O'Brien. We'll be back in 2. Stick around.